Before I start this Elden Ring review, I must first explain why I'm making this video. This is a review from a first time Souls player and a perspective that comes with such. I want to showcase in this video my opinions of Elden Ring and the impact the game has had on me since I completed it. With that in mind, I first need to explain the type of gamer I am. So I'm an old school RPG gamer. I grew up with the likes of Elder Scrolls, old school BioWare games, and The Witcher, to just name a few. These were all games that, in my opinion, captured the essence of the RPG formula. To this day, the role-playing genre is still my favourite genre of game. It introduces new worlds, carefully written and brought to fruition for us to enjoy. We have our own characters, our own look, or even stories devised for us that give us the agency to mould and craft our own purpose. When I first followed the release of Demon's Souls, it was evident that narrative was not the main proponent to these games, or so I thought. They seemed needlessly challenging, with combat that appeared archaic and even sluggish. I refused to play any of the games going forward, even when they developed a significant backing and renown for the series. I simply told myself I'm not the target audience. I already get frustrated when fishing in Animal Crossing and I get another bloody sea bass. So how can my temperament even begin to cope with Elden Ring? These were all the words of a gamer who has never played their games. I always wanted to be a Souls gamer. I always saw clips of these grand boss battles. I followed streams with audience participation, and it was always so full of love for the games. There was an appreciation from the core audience I only encounter very little nowadays. I saw the changing landscape of modern gaming compared to when I was a child. And to me, it is very rare I come across modern games that can capture the essence of what the games of my past held. So when Elden Ring released, I felt a longing to be part of its world. Fast forward to July 2024, 2 years after Elden Ring's initial release and just before its famed DLC release, Shadow of the Erdtree. Kai Cenat, a notable streamer many audiences today have heard of, started streaming Elden Ring, his first of the Souls genre. Kai Cenat was not the expected Souls audience. Like myself, he had never played a Souls-like. I watched as he, without summons, repeatedly tried and tried again. The sense of elation once he finally beat a boss, the audience and stream chat following the same journey, we all felt involved. And so I basically told myself, if Kai Cenat could do it, surely I can. So I finally brought my first Souls game, and it was Elden Ring. Part 2, my first foray into Limgrave. Let's get something straight, I am a pussy gamer. I don't know what I was expecting from Elden Ring, or in some capacity a challenging game. I knew it was good, but it doesn't change the fact I'm a pussy. It soon became evident this was the intended feeling by the developers for you as the gamer to have. When first unveiling the big wide world in Limgrave, you are mesmerised by what it signifies. The Elder Tree looks on in the distance, a reminder of your story, and a golden tinged hue coats the landscape before you as you embark on your journey. And then From Software decided it would be a great idea to plant an insanely hard optional boss right at the starting gate who one hit kills you. I don't have footage of the Golden Tree Sentinel, but just imagine me getting fucked up repeatedly. So if it's anything to go by, the Golden Tree Sentinel is a stark warning from the developers on the main formula to Elden Ring. You will face many challenges, but you are provided insurmountable ways and in turn choice in overcoming them. And when you do, it's simply glorious. The foreboding sense of danger from such enemies that roam the land create a sense of unease for me as a player, a sense of danger of what could be around the corner. This is one of the greatest strengths of the Souls formula, and indeed Elden Ring is especially due to its open world. It feels imposing and dangerous, with obstacles readily in place to test you. But as the Tree Sentinel boss suggests, he's optional. You're struggling with him, come back to him after you explore literally everything else first, because the devs made so much. The lands between are marred by an age of destruction and devastation. The fracturing of the Elden Ring brings what was once an age of order to chaos, as demigods fight one another, wars are waged and countless lost, and you are just a little old tarnished who didn't ask for any of this shit. So here's the thing, when you start Elden Ring for the first time, you are guided by something known as Grace, this gold pretty thing. Most of your fellow Tarnished can no longer see Grace, but shock horror, you can. So one can say the first thing a player must do is follow these sites of Grace towards the direction they point you towards. I did not do that. I got lost for like 15 hours in Limgrave, the starting area. So my game started as follows. I snuck to the next site of Grace. I talked to some merchant guy that looked like Santa. At this point, I did not know I was meant to exhaust dialogue with every NPC in a Souls game. I mean, it wasn't until 3 hours after this interaction I realised I could use the blacksmith table, so he lied to me. More narrative exposition follows once I rest, and I awaken with the help of a new trusty steed and questions on what my purpose is as a Tarnished. So in my case, my very first feeling of oh shit was a little cave of wolves I stumbled upon in Limgrave, and they decimated me. Bear in mind, I have never felt the controlled movement of a Souls game before, that's my excuse, and at this point I didn't even know the depth to its numerous systems. All I knew was dodge and parry, and so I just kept doing that and hoping for the best. So in that regard, my first boss was technically the Wolf Cave boss. He had really fast and swift movement, and it was basically like facing a reincarnated Michael Jackson in Limgrave. I danced back badly, I dodged into air, I wasted a lot of my stamina, basically ran in circles. I was scared and I wasn't being offensive. So I can't lie, this boss, learning his skill set and movement, which was so quick and fluid compared to enemies of old, it took me more than 10 tries. I had seen old Souls footage. Since when were enemies this offensive? You could see FromSoft had learned so much in terms of Bloodborne and Sekiro, adapting their game mechanics with motion that punishes the player offensively, far more than Souls games of old. Elden Ring, despite its renown, was different to what I expected it to be. Part 3! Leveling systems and mechanics. For the first few story bosses, I had no idea I could use summons or NPCs that help fight with you. Once my friend told me this, it was here I began to see the newly devised implementations of a Souls game for new audiences. So, are you struggling with a boss but want to still continue for your love of the game? Then use summons, even to take the attention from yourself. These are all optional additions, and the only way such easier implementations could be utilised in order to not deter new audiences or old alike. However, it wasn't until this first boss battle that I took a closer, keener eye to levelling mechanics and builds Elden Ring has to offer. If this first encounter told me anything, is that some bosses are more immune to certain elements, so for example bleed, lightning, frost, and vice versa. There are ways to accumulate prolonged damage, ashes of war that when applied to your weapon can create new movesets, in turn creating stance damage or magic damage to momentarily break an enemy's poise and elicit critical hits. Not only was there a multitude of ways to play and defeat such an enemy, but multiple ways to build your character and customise the type of damage they can do, and the rhythm of which they elicit such damage. Much of the starter areas allowed me to devise new builds, practicing what style of play best suited me. Alas, the lightning, dual katana, bleed damage, faith build was born. The two core components to Elden Ring are like so: devastating boss battles and how we as a player choose to overcome said battles. Elden Ring does not only possess a vast, in-depth world for you to explore, but a levelling system that showcases how multi-layered such a system can be, curating an experience that differs wildly to each person. Player choice is plentiful within the core components of Elden Ring systems, and this is implemented in a number of ways. The foundation to every Tarnished build is your attributes. With every battle, you are rewarded runes, and in turn you can level up depending on how many you currently hold, before it raises the threshold with each subsequent level up. It is here you decide what attributes you wish to dump points into, progressing your power in the process. From the likes of Figure, that increases your health, to Dexterity, which can increase your casting speed, lightning damage, and the power you wield with certain weapon types. Each weapon showcases what attribute level is needed in order to utilise said weapon. So some may require quite a high dexterity, while others may include both dexterity and strength, as well as even intelligence. See where I'm going with this? Attributes are the foundation to your build, and by focusing on, say, 3 target attributes, you can become a mean machine by the end of the game. However, it is how this attribute system extends into the weapon system that really grabbed my interest. Speaking of weapons, there are a lot in Elden Ring, like a lot, and they are all compartmentalised into their own damage dealing category. For example, blunt weapons or colossal weapons have the capability to break your enemy's stance at the cost of them being heavier to wield. Or katanas, most of which impose bleed damage, causing devastating layered effects. However, it is harder to break your opponent's stance in the process. There are swords better utilised for jump attacks, or polearms that with each subsequent hit give extra reach and do more damage. Then, not only are there weapons, but there are also special weapons. Special weapons have their own unique skill, some containing buffs that grant you special affinities or powerful havoc-wrecking movesets. Each weapon is filled to the brim with customization, making them feel special and unique within their own written lore and purpose. Then there's Ashes of War. Ashes of War are special weapon attachments that deal certain extra skills and moves to tailor to your playstyle, with many ashes scaling to your favourite attribute. I focus mainly on dexterity boosting ashes, such as my favourite Bloodhound Step, which allows you to evaporate into air and then dodge oncoming attacks. Or Unsheath, which is a katana skill that can further break your enemy's stance. So from this section there are things called Ashes of War, special armaments, normal weapons, and then to top it off, status effects. Elden Ring is full to the brim of customization and offers unique playstyles that differ wildly from person to person. Not only does this encourage multiple playthroughs, but an ongoing discussion between players on optimal builds, special weapon locations, and more in the process online. Part 4: World building and progression. Part of the biggest draw for me, and the moment the game clicked, so to speak, was when I first delved into the underground portion of Elden Ring. You see that big old map? There's an equal sized map underground with different areas. So basically I entered a well and came across a whole new game in the process. There is an incredible attention to detail to Elden Ring's open world, with each section of the map shifting in appearance, artistic design and feel as a result of where you are. I witnessed the stars shine bright in the darkness of underground, was captured in a whirlwind of snow that spreads far and wide in the Mountain of the Giants, or even the volcanic remains of Mount Gelmir and its treacherous incline. There is a narrative backstory to every location you come across, as the Atlas Plateau is drenched in the golden shine of the past heroics of the Golden Order and its army now laid to waste, or Caelid and its red hues that infect the land with diseased scarlet rot from a past battle between 2 demigods. Narrative pours into the weapons you accumulate, the lesser boss battles that scatter the land, and even the NPCs you come across on your journeys. During my first blind playthrough, I did not complete nearly as many NPC quests as I'd liked, due to how unrevealing your direction is, but the ones I did do really touched me by the end of my journey, as many of the NPCs you come across are with you from the beginning, propping up in new areas the same time as you, and it feels quite vivid as they encounter you along your treacherous journey. Elden Ring's narrative exposition isn't brought to the forefront like other games, but it is there, ingrained into every facet of the game through its art direction, sound design and enemy variety. In some aspects, and believe me I wouldn't say this for any other game, with the narrative hiding at your own discretion, you can miss most of the world building if you so choose, skipping entirely optional areas and bosses in the process. Part 5, the negatives. When I say negatives, I don't actually mean real bad negatives, but they are things that irked me a little. So repeated boss battles with annoying camera movement. Dragons. Dragons are the bane of my existence in this game. I cannot tell you just how many instances a dragon clipped into a cliff, bouncing about in the air with his legs dangling, while my weapon attacks clip through his stupid legs and wings until he disappears and re-emerges in his first spot encounter, and poor old Torrent has to carry my heavy ass all the way back to his zone. But what bothered me even more than the clipping issues was the camera movement. I swear most of the time, instead of fighting the dragon, I was in the dragon itself, watching my poor Tarnished hit air in a flurry of jumping attacks. Dragons are pretty much reskinned battles throughout each area of the map, and over time, once you learn their moveset, it is easy to defeat one with their unfortunate movement and glitches. It's just really annoying. Some may argue that indeed there are many reskinned enemies with the same movesets besides just dragons. Personally, this doesn't bother me as much, in the case that they are all optional bosses and reappear in different zones. I enjoyed every encounter, and it allowed me to further hone my skills in learning their battle patterns, so really it never felt like a waste of time. And there's good rewards and incentive for doing so. So for example, with each dragon you defeat, you gain a heart that can be put into strong dragon communion spells, or lesser tree enemies that drop flask skills. There are also quality of life changes introduced in Elden Ring. Sites of Grace are plentiful, with many stakes of Marika available outside the boss arena. So if you were to die, a grueling journey back to the boss can be overlooked. My old Souls friends discourage this, saying it's too easy. I say, I don't want to suffer, I'm already suffering with the damn boss. It's not the end of the world, though I can somewhat see what old Souls fans mean by this. Playing Dark Souls 1 now, and the difference is astounding with how save points are distributed. However, again, it's more of a quality of life change. The game is still challenging, it just cuts the run backs. So for my last negative, I personally feel like this is because I became so obsessed with the game. I was watching videos every day of the best builds, weapons, and the game can become very easy depending on your style and build. This is a positive and a negative. As a new player, it was a positive for me that I could rely on a bleed damage build for my first time playing. It didn't make me a god or anything, but it helped dull the edge for a new player. Then you find equipment. I found the blood mask that further improves blood damage, and talismans that increase every consequent hit. By the end, accompanied by my other bleed spills, I was basically free-shotting bosses. I'm complaining more so because the jump from scared little Tarnish to OP Geiger Chad, nothing scares me build was huge by the end of the game. But that is to be expected when you know the right build and the weapons and armour that goes with such a build. But then again, if you find the game too easy, change your build, something that isn't so OP. Don't rely on summons, causing all the aggro of big bosses to be on you alone. There are multiple options to cater to the experience, rounding up to what I said from the start. Elden Ring offers such immense customization and a tailoring of your gameplay experience. It has learned from the past of Souls games and made something for new and old audiences alike. In fact, it's evident as a player that the devs took meticulous attention to detail in most aspects of the game and its mechanics. How many times can we say after decades that a game developer can make a new game that will please old and new audiences alike? Right, so basically, in conclusion, I don't think I can quite put into words how grateful I am for the experience Elden Ring provided me. Elden Ring is a wonderful articulation of what can be achieved by a development team that have a care and adoration for their own work and vision. The artistic and conceptual design that, as mentioned before, pours into every part of the game, or the fluid and fun battle systems that feel addictive and accomplished in drawing the gamer to try and try again. Elden Ring builds upon RPG elements in its numerous systems and open world design, but it is the vision of this story and challenges, as well as confidence in the Souls genre, that truly brings Elden Ring above that of a mere game. I have never quite felt that feeling of immense fear and excitement by what a game world provides, the awe I felt when a new area opened to me, and a sense of elation once I finally defeated a boss I had struggled with. I spent more than 200 hours on this game due to the choice of customization at your disposal, from numerous builds, spells and weapons, in turn keeping gameplay fresh and inviting for those many hours. With every foe and their numerous battle patterns, I could not get enough of my time with Elden Ring, accompanied by one of the best implementations of an open world due to its depth in caves, crypts, churches, and even huge trees you climb. I simply felt that every integral area of this game, from story, world design, and gameplay, was crafted with an amazing attention to detail and a respect for its audience. Elden Ring feels like the most ultimate form of Miyazaki's vision, with the backing and funding provided. However, what really sets Elden Ring apart from its Souls counterparts is how new audiences can easily adapt to its many daunting systems. With quality of life choices and optional summons, Elden Ring is far more inviting for players who have never played the games before, while never losing its core identity and premise behind its difficulty. That's it, lads. That's the review. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I try to do videos as often as I can, but obviously it's quite a lot of time and effort that goes into it. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you again soon, and thank you again for watching the whole review. I'm not skipping the first bit. Really appreciate it. So take care and bye-bye.